We'll go ahead and get started with our introductions, and as people come in, they'll filter in. So I wanted to start by introducing my panel. Kelsey Long is a community builder and endurance athlete. She's used movement as a form of activism for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. She is one of the co-founders of We Run Long, a community of BIPOC trail runners that seeks to expand BIPOC presence in the sport while honoring Indigenous lands and amplifying diversity at races and beyond. Kelsey?
Yate, She'e, Kelsey Long, Yinishiak.
Yate, She'e Kelsey Long Yanishia, Kia Ani Nishlin, Klogabushish Chin, Kislajibi Dashiche, Nakai Dene, Dushanana. Hi, my name is Kelsey Long. My pronouns are she, her. I just introduced myself in my native language, Navajo. I am a Dene endurance runner. And thank you for having me here.
Kristen Weiss is a bilateral ischemic stroke survivor. In 2020, she suffered 4 strokes, 2 in February that affected her right side, and 2 more in April that affected her left side. After her first stroke, she was told her recovery time would be 6 to 12 months. However, the second set of strokes changed the prognosis to an ongoing lifetime condition. Currently, she and her partner Brad, who's also a stroke survivor, co-lead the newly founded Wisconsin chapter of Spokes Fighting Strokes, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping stroke survivors and others with neurological problems recover their health through triking on trails. Kristen?
Hi, I'm Kristen Weiss, live in Mount Pleasant, so Wisconsin, wonderful state. Hi.
Whitney Washington is a plus-size adventure filmmaker and the creator of Recapturing Life. In 2021, she set out on her first adventure of biking across America and documenting her experiences along the way, ultimately producing her first mini-series, The Scattered Archive. In 2024, she began the pursuit of her next goal, traveling around the world, and headed out on her first international bike trip to South Korea. Whitney?
Hello everyone, my name is Whitney Washington. I am from Jackson, Florida. Thank you for being here.
I'm Heidi Byerly. I've been car-free since 2007. I work at the intersection of transportation, recreation, and tourism. I've worked on recreation access projects in Oregon and Washington's Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area and Oklahoma's Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. Lately, I've been slow traveling the US, speaking with audiences about my debut memoir, Heidi Across America, One Woman's Journey on a Bicycle Through the Heartland, and using that story as an opportunity to engage with audiences about the transformative benefits of time outdoors and the future of travel. I live in Bellingham, Washington, and my book is set during the summer. I pedaled solo from Eugene, Oregon to Washington, D.C., studying bicycle tourism and rural economic development. The story is about the kindness of strangers and learning to love America and the tender heart within. To get us going, I wanted to sort of offer a broad context of slow travel, which is about savoring the moment and connecting meaningfully with place. And slow is relative, right? People have a variety of ways they prefer to get around, on foot, on bike, on unicycle, on paddleboard, skis, whatever. So there's a little bit of a framework as I was thinking about what does slow travel encompass? And I came to it as a car-free person more from the climate-friendly lens, where I was thinking about, these active modes, but then I realized that, not everybody can actually bike around for transportation or walk around for transportation. So how do we think about travel in a more broadly encompassing way so that it accounts for the many limitations that people experience, right? We all have kind of a unique set of things that prevents us from traveling, and I really do believe that everybody has the opportunity to have transformative experiences in the outdoors, and how, as we think about how people get around, how do we make it more possible for more people to have that access. So I wanted to, I don't forget what point. I wanted to just draw your attention to the blue slow travel bubble, excuse me, and the dark green, purple, and magenta areas. That's where we'll be talking about. So I like to think of slow travel as 3 principles. The purple one, the happy center in the middle, incorporates all 3 of those concepts of equitable access, climate-friendly travel, and this idea of slow travel. So micro-travel and mindfulness is that you don't actually have to go very far to have a transformative experience outside. You can step outside and experience the weather. Or it could also be a walk in a neighborhood park. Hey, buddy. Or like a local bike ride, or something close to home. So if you're pressed for time or money, there's nothing special that you need to do in order to have this experience outside. And part of the micro travel and mindfulness is that you're really engaging your senses. You're asking yourself, how does this place smell? How many sounds do I hear? What's the texture of the air? Even I like to challenge myself. Every place has a smell, even if it smells like nothing. Like, what is that? What is that thing? And the other part of the micro travel and mindfulness is like to minimize the distractions. So it's generally, you might take your phone to take pictures, but you're not really listening to anything else, so that you can absorb what's happening there and just notice what you're noticing. The second principle is the journey is the destination. This is the idea that if you have a destination, you may not, that where you're getting or how you're getting there is what's most important. So, my cross-country bike ride or other, all 3 of these women have examples of the journey is the destination, going for a trail run, biking across the country, and just having an experience out on the trail. All of those are journey is the destination. Just the experience of being out there and what happens along the way is what's important. And then the third one is live somewhere else, which is the idea that the destination is important. Maybe you don't want to spend all your time getting somewhere, because once you're there, you really want to sink into the local culture and environment and experience what it is. And part of slow travel is that you're not going somewhere and over-programming yourself. This is the thing that we do where we go on vacation and we need a vacation from vacation. So, yes, go see some sites, but maybe 1 or 2 a day, and leave a lot of white space to explore the local environment where you are. That could be the local food, asking locals for recommendations, challenging yourself to be bored maybe, and just seeing what happens. Sometimes that's where the magic occurs. And all of these things too you can do them as one, you could do them combining 2 or combining all 3. So like one example of micro travel and mindfulness and living somewhere else might be gardening somewhere or doing some habitat restoration. So you're just like in a local, in a local place for a while and just really paying attention to what's happening there. One of the things that I think slow travel offers in terms of transformational experiences is that the more we discover ourselves in relationship to the land and all of the creatures that exist in it, maybe even the rocks, if we think of those as creatures, we deepen our relationship, and we're also deepen our reciprocity of care for the place that we're in. with that, I'm delighted to hand it over now to Kelsey, Whitney, and Kristen, and have them share about their transformative slow travel experiences. So, Whitney, let's start with you, and maybe tell us about your experience on the C&O Canal Trail.
So, growing up, I had always loved adventure, but I've always been overweight, and I always kind of taught you need to lose weight, need to get fit, to do certain things, and I had loved watching the different adventure films, and when YouTube came along, seeing people's stories, and it was so interesting to me, but I never particularly saw myself going out there. But it wasn't until I started seeing different stories of different people who I related to, especially bigger people who were through hiking on the Pacific Coast Trail, or people who decided to bike across America themselves. And from there, I was like, maybe I'll try it too. And I just didn't know how. So in 2020, my friend, who I'd always told him one day I'll go on a trip, sent me an article about the Great American Rail Trail. And as I was looking at that trail, the first two trails on that long cross-country trails, the C&O and the Gap, if you're going from east to west, and it has campsites all along that trail. And I was like, I think I can do that. Just start slow, go from campsite to campsite, and eventually I'll make it to the other side. And the C&O for me was a really helpful place to start, because I did go slow, and I had to also let people help me. I had way too much stuff, and I had a terrible bike. It was like a steel bike. It was horrible. And there was this day where I ran out of water, and some people who were walking on the trail gave me some water, and he was holding my bike. He was like, this bike is too damn heavy. And they ended up taking me home, and it's crazy because the wife, she had biked across America in her youth, and she was able to tell me like which stuff I didn't need, which stuff I did need, and I sent what I didn't need home, and they brought me back to trail, and I continued on my journey. And being on the C&O, I grew a lot on there. I went from doing 5 to 10 miles. And by the time that I was done with the C&O alone, I was doing 20 miles a day. And then from the Gap, I had gotten up to 40. And for me, too, I'd never done that before. Those trails were, the way those trails were constructed were so helpful, because I had everything I needed. I could just grow and become more confident over time. And so from the C&O and growing and becoming stronger, I was able to continue my journey and make it across America. So,
I've definitely had my share of challenges that gave me confidence, and what comes to my mind is the Dinosaur Valley Endurance Run. That is the first event that my organization, We Run Long, previously known as Dirtbags Run, hosted for 20 Black, Indigenous, and other people of color trail runners. So this was very special to me because it was my first ultra marathon. I ran 100K or 62 to 63 miles that weekend. And because, you know, we created something, we brought all these people together, and I don't think we actually got a photo of everyone. This is just because people were leaving and starting their races. But you know, it was challenging creating that organization because we knew that there was some space for change in the trail community, and we wanted to build that, and so it was great to see that all come together at this event. And of course there were personal challenges for that event because I was running more than I had ever done before. I had done marathons before, road marathons, and even a trail marathon. But yeah, this was so much bigger, and so I had done the first 50K, and I bombed. I was not eating enough. I was spending way too much time at the aid stations, and I didn't realize I just had this mentality that I'm gonna keep going, keep pushing, and it wasn't until another runner outside of my group said, you need to eat. So, but when I finished that first 50K, I decided I was gonna go back to my hotel and rest and eat, and then come back and finish the next 50K. And at some point when I was at the hotel, warm and comfortable in my bed, there was a thought that went through my mind where I was like, why don't I just end it? You know, like my race is done. I am technically an ultra marathoner anyway, but I ended up going back and finishing because I was so public about this race on social media, just like letting everyone know, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm really gonna get that buckle. And then also being a role model for my team. I think that was also really important for me. We had people out there who had never run a trail before, taking on distances from 5 miles to 100 miles. And as a leader of this group, I could not bear to be one of the people who didn't complete their distance. So, you know, at 4 a.m, got out of bed and went back out on trail. And I'm so grateful that the event allowed me to do that. I spent over 30 hours. My official time was somewhere around like 31 or 32 hours. And I'm grateful that we had that much time to finish this. So I'm so grateful for that, and being able to have that and realize for myself that I can do hard things.
Kristen, tell us about CycleCon and how the change in your body's abilities brought about your travel transformation.
Since my strokes, I've been dealing with loss of freedom, independence. I couldn't drive after my strokes. Just changing from, being able to walk and run to not being able to do that. So getting introduced to meeting my partner Brad and him introducing recumbent bike trekking and strokes riding, strokes dance, and I was very impressed with his story, how he travels, and wanted us to become chapter leaders for Wisconsin because we were stroke survivors. So he invited us to CycleCon, and I got to ride about 95 miles that weekend on the trails of Ohio, and they were beautiful.
Tell us a little bit about how community is a part of riding together with Dan.
It was nice. It felt like I felt like normal person being with other survivors, also other disabled members. I just felt like home. Just safer. Being in numbers is wonderful. Trails, just knowing that I can go on them and just go. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and Kelsey, I know community is really important in the work that you do.
Yes, not only I not only created my community, but that was after being a part of the Rising Hearts community first. In 2021, I joined Rising Hearts as an athlete advocate, and at that time, I knew I wanted to do something because I don't know if you're runners out there, but being a runner, and when you put runner content out on social media, people just like seeing, we follow each other. So I gained a small following there. And what Rising Heart showed me is that I can use my platform as a runner to advocate for things that I'm passionate about. And when I became an athlete advocate, I knew I wanted to do something, I just didn't know what it was. And so I'm grateful to be a part of that community because there were community leaders in that group that were already doing their own work. And they inspired me, and which helped me and my best friend create the community We Run Long. And so We Run Long is a nonprofit organization, and what we want to do with this organization is to break back down the barriers that Black, Indigenous, and other people of color have when they come to the sport of trail running. We've identified those barriers as first, safety. Our first event was in Texas, and so bringing BIPOC athletes into a space that is not very welcoming. It was hard, but we had a great race director who did their best to make sure we felt safe. So that that's an important barrier that we need to break down, is that safety barrier, and that's done by making partnerships with race directors that are friendly to us, and having safety in numbers. I think it's really intimidating for a person who looks like me to come to a trail event and not see more people like me. That's an issue I've had in the past. But when you have 20 or 30 of your friends coming with you, crashing the starting line, it is so powerful, and you're gonna see it later. So yeah, and then the second barrier we come across is financial. These events are really expensive, or they can be very expensive, and not only registration for the events, there's travel and gear and food, lodging if you're from out of town. So that's another barrier that my organization tries to get rid of, and we do that through sponsorships. We've been fortunate these past couple years, since 2022, to have sponsors who support us and have been able to make sure that the athletes, that all they need to do is get to the major airport. It was Dallas our first year, Washington the second year, and Denver. Once they get to the airport, we take over everything. We pay for everything. So that is all done through our generous sponsors. And this last barrier was something that was that I realized, or I found out most recently in our last round of applications to be a part of our organization. And this person said that we have helped them break their own personal barrier. And what that was this person did not see themselves in trail running. They didn't believe in themselves. So seeing us and all of our joy in the outdoors, they have felt like they can be a part of that. They're willing to be uncomfortable so that they can be with us. So I think that's really important because people of color, we belong in sport. Historically, we have not been able to access recreation in the outdoors. It's been illegal. So, trying to reclaim this space has been really important for us because events like, and I learned this morning from Cindy, the snake Snow snake, yes. I mean, that is not, those movements may be considered sport, but that's traditional, everyday life for our people. So, I think that's something that we really want to do, and through that, we are showing that representation matters. Having our people who look like us do these hard things, run 100 miles. That the first year when we had that offer, I think that's really special, and just showing that, these aren't white people sports. So, and also making sure, especially in this climate, that we are inclusive to all communities, not just cisgender, but we also support trans and non-binary. At the camp that we host, we don't have just female-male cabins, we have female-male and non-binary, so that we are supportive of all genders.
It's beautiful. So, representation matters, having community around is very important. Whitney, I'd like you to talk just a little bit about the fact that you travel solo. So tell us a little bit about why you travel alone.
So, one of the biggest reasons that I travel alone was because I didn't really know anybody who was interested in it. When I started to see the stories online of people who were going out there despite their size, being able to find the gear that would fit them, being able to find the ways for them to access the different adventures that they wanted to go to. I really wanted to start doing that myself, but I didn't know anyone, so I was just like, I guess I'm just not gonna wait for somebody to tag along. I'm just gonna get out there and figure it out along the way.
So we have this video. So tell us some of the community, the people you met along the way that supported you even though you were out by yourself.
So when I decided to go out there, I wasn't planning to post on social media. I wasn't planning to talk about it. I was gonna just try to figure it out by myself. And I had reached out to someone who was walking the Appalachian Trail at the time, hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I asked her if I could edit her videos and be paid a little bit, and she agreed. Then she connected me with her manager, who was very excited to find out about me biking across America, and she changed everything about the bike trip. She told me to create a GoFundMe, did an interview, and it brought so many people to my Instagram, and people were connecting with the story. And throughout my travels, I'd met so many different people along the way. And First Image is Rails to Trails. They were completely involved in my journey because I was on the Great American Rail Trail, and it was 2021, so it was not as finished as it is now. You know, they've done a lot more since then, and so they were letting me know certain places not to go because I was a noob on trail, and they're like, you know, you might not want to go through Wyoming by yourself, you know. So they were very involved, and I went to their place, their one of their headquarters, and they just helped so much. Then you had people from Instagram who reached out that wanted to just ride with me on trail and show me around their city when I came through. Then you had the amazing warm showers who would host, and they gave me gear that I need, better helmets. I had like a skateboarding helmet. He's like, no, I need an actual biking helmet. So, you know, they made sure that I had everything I need. They showed me different options with looking at the maps and the routes, and because they've done biking across America trips themselves. Then the random people, those were the people that I had met on the C&O who brought me home to go through all my stuff and send what I didn't need home. Then you had Noah from Will & Sprocket out of Wisconsin as well. He drove down from Wisconsin and brought me a new bicycle to help me finish out my ride because I was having so many bike troubles, and he just wanted to make sure that I was able to complete my journey across America. And I just wasn't expecting it because I was planning to just do it alone and by myself, but you know, I realized over time that how much stories matter and how much representation do matter, because it helped me get out there on trail. But then seeing the stories of people who decided to reach out to me in my DM, say, I bought a bike because of you, I'm bigger, and I never really thought I could ride a bike, but seeing that there are bikes that can hold my weight, you know, I'm gonna get out there, and I don't know if I'm gonna do long tours, but I'm going to start and try, you know. And having all of those encouraging words helped me keep going, because like I said, I was by myself in the beginning, but the community grew over time, and I'm so excited that I had the opportunity.
So it is very important to see yourself in others, as Whitney is mentioning, as part of her encouragement. So, Kristen, I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about, you know, how being out there is, you're being somebody who gives others an opportunity to see themselves, and you can just speak a bit.
Since the stroke, I had to adjust my capabilities within the capabilities, getting fitted for becoming trike and getting all the accessories like assist bars and whatnot. That was nice. I went to the Hassel shop at Stevens Point, and they took their time and got me fitted on the trike and all that. So that I'm just really grateful for where I'm at and glad that we're capable of doing Spokesman Strokes chapter here. So riding with the community of the awareness of the people that don't ride trikes. We as a Spokesman Strokes support community, we like to just have everybody come ride and join us. Have fun. That's what we're at. We want to have fun and see everything, so that's what we enjoy. So
And you have an electric assist.
yes, I do have electric assist. If I don't have that, I wouldn't be able to go 20 miles or barely a mile. I could barely pedal up an incline that was maybe just easy to walk. I can't do it, so I had to do the e-assist to make it
sometimes people think you're cheating.
Yeah, they do. They do. I think I'm cheating. I mean, if you look at me sitting here, I look normal. I don't have look like I have any kind of disability or whatnot. But I did have stroke on both sides and affects both sides of my body. So, you know, having that, you know, just don't judge me by the cover. You know, you get to know me a little bit. I can barely walk, so you know, makes a difference. So.
I'm curious about all of you, but let's start with you, Kristen. What makes trails welcoming and accessible for you?
But all the amenities they have, like the bathroom access, the paved trails, when the trails are like overgrown with vegetations or the paved is cracked, and it's a little bit harder for oncoming trikes to ride on them because they're more made for snowmobile riding or trikers and two-wheel bikes, so they're not as, we're lower to the ground, so yeah, harder for us to do.
Tell us a little bit about the helmets and how that helps keep you safe.
One of the things we do while we're riding is, with just me and Brad, is we got helmets that we can talk like walkie-talkie, and to be able to do YouTube, listen to music, and then if we fall, they do like a SOS, so it will alert emergency and to our location so we can get help. So that is one of the safety things we did as a stroke survivor riding trikes. And we do like to have like pretty flags on our bikes and be able to be seen, so yeah.
And camping also seems to be an important part of accessibility.
That is my new thing, camping and triking and checking out the new trails. First year on trail riding, so that is my adventure to go everywhere and try the new trails. So yeah.
Beautiful. Whitney, maybe you could share a little bit about your experience in Korea and just generally what makes trails accessible for you.
Yeah, so I've gone on, I'd like to say, 2.5 bike trips. I went on my first bike trip across America, and then I had tried to bike from Alaska to Mexico, one of the trips. And when I was in Alaska, I quickly realized that I didn't like road riding as much as I liked trail riding. I liked the way that the trails were set up and with the signs and with the access and having pretty much everything that you needed while you're on trail. It is one of the reasons that I chose to go to Korea, because they had a long distance trail from Incheon to Busan, and essentially it has everything that you need: restrooms, you can camp, the different stores, and you just bike and do your thing and go in and out of the different cities and villages and interact with the different locations. And I enjoyed that a whole lot more than kind of just being out in the middle of the wilderness in Alaska. But I do recognize that as I grow as a bike tourer, that I want to do more bike packing and do more trail riding in different locations. I just was not very excited or felt safe about trying wild camping and camping like outside of like designated camping spots just yet. I wanted to learn. I wanted to get better, and it's one of the reasons why I've been seeking out more trails that have all the, I guess, quote unquote amenities that you need, so that you can just be out there and enjoy riding in nature.
So I rode the High Trestle Trail in Iowa on my way here, and I believe Whitney had also, when she rode cross country, was able to ride the High Trestle Trail, but Whitney had a very interesting experience in Iowa that I would love for her to share.
So a lot of random things happened along my trip, but one of the things that happened in Iowa was it was a very hot day that day, and I was pushing my bike to the campsite that I was going to stay at when a police officer had stopped me, and he asked if I was doing okay, just checking on me because of the heat. And I was like, I'm fine, I'm heading to the campground. He was like, it's very hot though. And so he's like, well, you know what, let's do this. How about I push your bike up the hill and you drive my car to the parking lot? And I was like, really? And he's like, you can drive automatic, right? And I was like, yeah. That's totally the reason. So he gets my bike and I get in his car and he's just on his phone with his wife. He's like, yeah, honey, I'm just helping this young lady push her bike up the hill. And I was just like, cool. And I brought it to the parking lot. And it's funny when I look back at it, my mom was like, did you have your camera? Were you filming it? And I was like, no, because I was just so flabbergasted. It was just so random. And when he got up the hill to where I was gonna camp, he went inside and he was like, she needs to be inside. It is too hot outside. And they were like, sure, we can have her inside. And they didn't even make me pay. Like he was determined to make sure I was not outside in the Iowa heat. But yeah, many random things happened, and that was one of them for sure.
Excellent. It's such a good story. So, Kelsey, how about you? What makes a trail experience welcoming or accessible?
Well, as opposed to Whitney, I do prefer a more rugged experience when I'm out there. But mainly that's because I'm not doing multi-day trips. It's really, going out early in the morning. So I'll sleep in my car at the trailhead to be able to get going. And my best friend and co-founder has a van. So when we're together, we'll van life it, which is very fun. But something what makes trails more accessible to me is really just seeing other BIPOC people out there, knowing that I'm not going to be alone, because there is that sort of like unspoken code of we're going to take care of each other. So I really like that. But as far as events, I think some of the things that event coordinators could do to make them more accessible is to give us more time. I think that's really going to help with getting beginners out there, because you're just unsure of, am I actually going to be able to do this? So just having enough time to be out there. I would have never finished my first 100K without having over 30 hours to do it. I really only spent about 22, 23 hours on trail, but total, the total time took me over 30 hours. So I'm really grateful that I had that time. And the next thing is with We Run Long, we always ask for explicit invitations. That general statement that is commonly used in the outdoor space is everyone is welcome. And I don't think that they want to exclude anyone, but I think that it's really important if you want to have a more diverse event, or you want to make sure that everyone is enjoying themselves on the trail, is to have those explicit invitations and really invest in our communities, making sure that we know we can trust you when we're out at your event, on your trail. I think that's going to be really the best things that you can do for us.
So we'll wrap up with this
This is the camp I was talking about, Camp We Run Long.
Having a conversation with Christy, she was asking like, how do you define community? And then we rushed to the finish and we kind of looked at each other and we're like, connection.
Healing.
Invigorating.
Magic.
This.
The first inaugural Camp We Run Long 3 days of just bringing us together in sessions and education and moments of mindfulness, being in a space where people of color just felt safe and felt invited.
It's an opportunity for BIPOC trail runners from all over the country to get together, be in community, and take up space in a sport where we don't often see ourselves in.
There was so much Black, Indigenous, people of color love and support, joy in the outdoors. I've never seen anything like the experience of this weekend. It was really emotional. It was so special.
Having everyone here, it almost feels unreal. It feels like this is a dream. I am so happy that this is happening, that we have this time together, because it is real. We're impacting so many people, and I just hope that we can have more opportunities like this in the future. Okay, so that was the first Camp We Run Long. That occurred last year in 2024. Thanks to our sponsors, Ultra Running, Freestone Endurance, and we picked up a new sponsor this year, the Trail Mix Fund. So they make it all possible to bring all of us out there and just find joy in the outdoors. This little snippet here is actually a trailer to a film that we created around this weekend, and it's currently playing at the Trail Film Fest. It's being hosted around the world, so Google that to see if that's something that you want to see. It's not only our story, but it's I think 5 others who are in the trail community, and I think they're amazing. So I talked about the requirements for working with our organization, We Run Long. One of those is incorporating a land acknowledgement, or really using the Running on Native Lands initiative that Rising Hearts started. So it's what that initiative does is it wants to do more than just giving a land acknowledgement, pushing you to actually create relationships with the tribes in the area. So that is us.
So these 3 women have a lot more stories and adventures to share. We do have some time for questions, but before we do that, Kelsey, do you want to just share how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram as Long Comma Kelsey. We Run Long is We Run Long. We don't have any websites or anything right now, so it's mainly just Instagram. And again, I had included the QR code to find the Rising Hearts Running on Native Lands initiative.
Kristen, how about you? How can people be in touch?
I am only on social media like Facebook. You can look me up that way, or go to the website fightingstrokes.org, or you can email me at sfsperspective.com.
How about you, Whitney?
So I can be found at Recapturing Life. Instagram is Recapturing Life _ and my YouTube channel, which has my series about my first bike ride, is on at Recapturing Life. And also have my South Korea series as well. And also, cycling summit with virtual summit is May 6th. It is a virtual summit for women who have been in the cycling world as well. Thought to promote it since it will be coming up, and it'll be different stories of women who have been on their own bike tours and how to win.
Thanks. I'll be up here with my book, other ways to contact me there, and open it up for questions.
I'm curious for who wants to respond. Like I love solo adventuring until it's nighttime, and then I get totally freaked out. And so I'm like just curious about your all's like experience, you know, solo or not, or kind of like what you do, either like in terms of choosing where you're gonna land, or like just what you do internally. So like be comfortable like where you are.
Like right now we're at a campground, maybe 15 miles away from here. That's out of the county. And they're all handicap accessible with bathroom showers. And we've been throughout the whole campground. So, and it's right next to the trail, so I could really move my trail, but then I don't have my scooter to have access through here. So that's how we do it. So.
And for me, I usually, when I go on my trips, I start early, so I can bike at night in the morning, because I know the light's gonna come, but I will get done, usually I can do 40 to 60 miles and get done by like 2 p.m. And by then, that's when I start looking for where I want to stop. Throughout the day, I'm probably looking if there's warm showers that I can head towards, or a campground. Korea was more of a place where I tried wild camping. Still haven't done it in the States. But usually what I did was I just looked at the map and saw, okay, this is where I'm gonna head, campgrounds here, and get there before nightfall, because I wasn't gonna ride in the dark either. So yeah, that was my strategy.
Anytime I've been on my own at night, it hasn't been. I run in groups at night, but I do sleep in my car. You know, going to a trailhead, and I'm not so concerned. I just feel I have the safety of my car, and so I don't feel like there has ever really been an instance where. And you know, I'm in my car. If I do feel unsafe, I can quickly get away. And that's one of the reasons why I don't tent camp when I'm alone. Is you know, I feel like there's animals and bugs that can get you, and I feel a little more separated when I'm in the car.
I don't have anything extra to add other than, you know, chipmunks at night are very scary when they run over you. Are there any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Can you guys answer this a little bit and just refine more and more adventure? Are there any other things that you sort of look for in a destination?
So for me, for the trips that I've gone on, I started out with trips that I felt like I could go do longer miles over time. I'm not the most like conditioning type person, so I'll like just use the being out there as like my conditioning, and so like since, for example, like Alaska, since like a lot of places you can kind of wild camp, but in the beginning, there are more warm showers. I was like, okay, so I'll just go so far and then camp or be at a warm shower. So that's how I like plan my first few trips. Just like helping myself get out there without like the barrier of not feeling like I wasn't capable of doing it. But then like even places like Korea, I had found that trail in like 2018, way before my first bike trip. I had seen a documentary about it, and it was one of those documentaries that really made me fall in love with the bike touring, because I hadn't really seen a lot about it prior, and I never thought I'd get on a trail, but after doing my first few trails, I was like, I would like to travel more internationally, and that's how I chose that. That was another reason why I chose Korea, because there was already a trail that was set up, but it was a place that I also, it was a trail that I always wanted to try anyways. Yeah, for me, that's just how I figured out I wanted to go.
I'd chime in a little bit because we don't necessarily have car-free travelers, but that's a really important factor for me, is how I can link together various transportation modes to get to where I want to go. If there are not options, though, that makes it really difficult, and I might not be able to get to a destination. So there are plenty of other people who can't drive. They can't drive for one reason or another. So I think as you're thinking about your trailhead access or other things like that, it's important to factor in how somebody could get there if they're not arriving in a vehicle. There was a question over there.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what are you all excited about next? You've all done so many amazing things, but what are some other exciting things that you share about?
I want to ride the Great American Trail. Just learning about it today, and I know Brad said something about it, but just seeing it just amazing. So that is a goal of mine, so I will definitely make a goal to do that, hopefully soon. So,
I'm headed back to Dinosaur Valley to take on the 100 mile.
And I'm gonna be actually heading back to Korea, and a big part of it is because I was planning to do more trails, but it got cold very quickly. Apparently it was like its coldest winter, just it happened to be last year, and so I left, and I'm gonna go back to do Jeju, which is their biggest island, and then there's a few other bike trails. They have a bike passport you can stamp and get like a medal at the end if you do so many trails, and I got all the stamps from the cross country, so I want to get everything. So that's what I'm doing.
There's a question.
I was going to ask the same question. It's